So joining us exclusively, George Papadopoulos. George, good evening. Good to have you with us this evening. We have heard your story about the meetings with these different individuals. You are on the Trump campaign, and suddenly all these people want to talk to you. They want to take you to Rome. They want to take you to London. They want to drop information in your lap about the emails. And now you say that there is more to come. There's more that we need to know. What is it?
Well, I, like everyone else in this country, probably around the world, understood that the origin of this investigation started with my meeting with Alexander Downer in a bar in London. Now, because apparently that's the reason this investigation started, and that I am the only person who actually met with Downer in this bar, I retraced my steps of what actually led up to that meeting with Downer. And the environment and the people I was meeting that led to that meeting with Downer were incredibly suspicious. And it was clear that this meeting was completely controlled, and it was not a random attempt by Alexander Downer to invite me for a drink.
So who was behind it?
Now, here's the backstory, because I'm not sure if this has ever been reported, but I've certainly been tweeting about it because I truly believe that the American public deserves to know, and especially Congress. There was an Israeli diplomat named Christian Cantor who absolutely detested Trump, who one day in London decided to introduce me to his so-called girlfriend, a girl named Erica Thompson, who just also happened to be an intel officer from Australia and a senior advisor to Alexander Downer. Now, this was in April of 2016. I learned about the dirt from Joseph Mifsud in late April 2016. Now, why was an Australian intelligence officer meeting with me, probing me about my ties to the energy business in Israel? Why was she probing me about what the campaign was up to regarding Russia in April before Joseph Mifsud even told me about the dirt? Now, fast forward to the beginning of May. All of a sudden, I give an interview to the Times of London in which I essentially humiliate, by accident, I guess, the UK Prime Minister by asking him to apologize or retract his derogatory statements about candidate Trump, about his idea of a Muslim ban, which I felt, David Cameron should have never been calling Donald Trump stupid or idiotic for those comments. And it doesn't matter if the UK is an ally or not. Their Prime Minister should not have intervened in the democratic process in this country. Now, a couple days after that interview, all of a sudden, I'm approached by two officials from what I think are the Defense Intelligence Agency of the U.S. Embassy in London, who decide to meet with me and basically probe me about what's happening. And then a day or so after that, Alexander Downer wants to meet me in a bar along with his assistant, who was an Australian intelligence officer. Now, I do not remember at all talking about emails with Alexander Downer. He himself has contradicted himself, I think, at least 3 times in subsequent interviews he has given about the encounter. What I remember about this encounter with Alexander Downer was he was incredibly belligerent. He despised Trump. He was very hostile towards the campaign.
Let me just because basically you're saying that once you were on the campaign, suddenly all these people are, giving you information. And now that you look back on it, you think that you may have been set up. You have another tweet out there that basically says that there was spying on an American, that the British, the Australians, they knew that there was spying happening on an American citizen, and that Obama, Brennan, and Clapper also knew, because that's the question here. You're suggesting that these individuals were setting you up to create a pretense to start investigating the Trump campaign for meddling with Russia. But in order to prove that, you've got to prove that there were people involved in our intelligence agencies who were also in on it. Can you prove that?
All I can say at this moment, and I'm sure Congress will probably discover more after my testimony, is when Stephen Halper lured me to London, it is unfathomable that the British government did not realize or have information of what was going on between myself, Stephen Halper, and his Turkish assistant, who lured me to London to spy on me, from what all public records have demonstrated. Now, the same day, this is where things get incredibly weird, the same day, after looking back in my notes, that Stephen Halper met with me in London, the British Ministry of Foreign Affairs invited me to their offices to meet with their diplomats. And the British, and I tweeted about this, I have never knowingly met a Russian official in my life. However, while I was on the campaign, I had incredible amount of interaction with British diplomats to the extent that they personally delivered Theresa May's letter to me about Trump when he was elected president. Now, I'm not sure why they were around me as much as they were. I have no idea why Stefan Halper lured me to London for the meeting, but it's impossible that the British had no idea what was going on.
Well, it's very interesting, and I thank you for laying out some of it, and I hope we're going to talk further about this. Thank you, George. Good to see you tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Martha. I appreciate it.
You bet.